Uh-oh. Are we live on the cable channel? Awesome, thank you. Hey, good evening, everyone. We'll get started in a couple minutes, at directly 7:30. So we'll get ready now and make sure all the candidates who are expected to be here have a chance to arrive.
Ready, Bill?
Yeah, since there's only 4 candidates here, I would suggest, all the candidates, you're welcome to we have plenty of room for everyone.
And trust me, these chairs are a lot more comfortable.
The ones in the front look like they're new.
Hey, good evening, everyone. It's 7:30 p.m., so we'll get started. First, this evening's program is being recorded. The city plans to post a recording online on the city website at www.greenbeltmd.gov in the next few days. It is also being broadcast on the city website and cable channels. So if your continued presence and participation in this meeting indicates that you are willing to have your face and anything you say presented on those channels and in that recording. So welcome to the 2026 GHI Candidates Forum. I'm Tom Jones, Chair of the Nominations and Elections Committee and the GHI Director of Elections. On behalf of the Nominations and Elections Committee, I welcome and thank the candidates with us this evening and the 4 candidates who could not join us tonight. I also welcome our audience here and at home, along with the City of Greenbelt for hosting us here in the City Council chamber of the municipal building, and for City staff support with hosting and recording tonight's event. I'd also like to thank GHI staff for their support, including Delicia Slade, Deanna Washington, and James Claggett, who provide invaluable assistance to the NNE committee. I'd also like to introduce my fellow NNE committee members. Terry Henderson is here, Dan Gelati, and Joe Raubovsky. Luisa Robles, unfortunately, was unable to make it tonight. So first, I'll give a very brief refresher on our upcoming GHI election. All members, I hope, know that GHI is a legal corporation. It has 1,600 shareholders. We usually call ourselves members, though. Together, all 1,600 homes, all 1,600 shares associated with those homes, together own GHI. Like Maryland and the United States, GHI is a representative democracy. That means that we elect some of our fellow members to represent us throughout the year. Tonight's forum and next week's election are crucial elements of our community democracy. There are 3 groups that we, the GHI members, elect each year to represent us. The first group is the Nominations and Elections Committee. That's the committee that I chair. Most of the committees appointed by the board, like the Buildings Committee and the Woodlands Committee, are created by the board, they have members appointed by the board, and they report to the board. NNE, Nominations and Elections, is different. We're one of 2 exceptions. We are elected directly by the membership, and like the board, we report directly to the membership. The 5 members of next year's NNE committee will be elected to 1-year terms during the annual meeting. We are not participating as candidates in this forum because we're hosting it as part of our mandate in the bylaws to conduct the election. The second of 3 groups is the Board of Directors. The board manages most of the affairs of GHI. Under our bylaws, the board consists of 9 directors who have staggered 2-year terms. In even years, we elect 4 of the 9 directors, and in odd years, we elect the other 5. Since 2026 is an even year, we have 4 2-year terms up for election this year. This year, we have 4 candidates for those 4 positions, of which 2 are here tonight. So 2 candidates could not make it tonight. The third group out of 3 is the Audit Committee. They are the second committee that's an exception. Like NNE, they do not report to the board. Like the board itself and NNE, the Audit Committee also reports directly to the membership. That's why Audit Committee candidates are elected and are also here tonight. The Audit Committee is an independent group tasked with the job of keeping an eye on the Board of Directors and other GHI operations. Under the bylaws, the Audit Committee has 3 members, each serves a 1-year term. This year, we have 4 candidates for those 3 Audit Committee positions. This is a contested election for Audit Committee this year. 2 out of those 4 candidates are here tonight. If you'd like further background on all of this year's candidates, the upcoming Thursday, May 7th edition of the News Review will contain biographical statements written by each candidate. That same information will also be available on the GHI website at ghi.coop/election. Next Thursday, May 14th, the 2026 annual GHI membership meeting begins at 7:30 p.m. in the Community Center. To participate, members must be on site in order to participate in discussions and votes and to have their voices heard by their fellow members. So you have to come in person, as it's been for the past several years. Once next Thursday's annual meeting concludes, it technically goes into recess. It does not adjourn. When it goes into recess, members are able to vote for the board and audit committee. Members with an email address on file will automatically receive a link to cast their ballots online from their internet-connected computer, tablet, or phone anywhere at their convenience from then until 8 p.m. Friday. All members, whether you have an email address or not, are welcome to vote in person after Thursday's annual meeting in the Community Center gym, and also 4 to 8 p.m. Friday at the GHI office. Members of the N&E committee will be there to help you vote. If this sounds similar to last year, that's because it's exactly the same process. If you were able to vote last year, you'll be able to vote again this year. I didn't hear any complaints from members who had trouble or were unable to vote last year. I hope the same will happen this year. As always, N&E will be available if anyone does have questions or problems voting. Details about voting will also be printed in Thursday's news review, and we'll tell you about them at next week's annual meeting. So for tonight's forum, I have several questions for the candidates tonight. We also want to include questions from the membership. For anyone watching remotely, if you have a question you'd like candidates to answer, please email it to, here comes an email address, ghi.nominationsанdelections@gmail.com. If you're present here, you're also welcome to use that email, or you can write it down on a piece of paper. We have some pads here and pens, and pass it to me, and we'll be happy to read it. Or if you're remote, you can send us an email. If you're in person, you can send us an email. If you're in person, you can also write down a question and pass it over to me. If you have trouble finding our email address, which I just read, you can also go to the GHI website at ghi.coop/elections and click Contact the Nominations and Elections Committee. So one last time, that email address is ghi.nominationsandelections, all one word, @gmail.com. All questions need to be applicable to all candidates, both incumbents and challengers. Questions should be civil, reasonable, and rational, and especially not a personal criticism or attack or endorsement. We want questions. This is a candidates forum. We're not looking for attacks on individual candidates. Please make sure that your questions address all candidates. Now, it's finally time to meet the candidates. Each candidate will have an opportunity to provide an opening statement of up to 3 minutes. We'll start with all of the opening statements, first from the Board of Directors, then from the Audit Committee. I will read statements that the candidates who are not present tonight have provided in advance. Those candidates who are here, of course, will speak on their own behalf. Joe will be doing the timing so to ensure that each candidate stays within their time. And he will be holding up signs to indicate when you have 60 seconds, 15 seconds, 30, and when you run out of time. So please pay attention to make sure that you use your time appropriately. So tonight, there are 4 candidates for 4 board positions. 2 of those 4 candidates are here tonight. I will start by reading statements provided by the 2 board candidates who are not here tonight. First, Debbie McKinley. Debbie wrote, "I am unable to be with you this evening because I am currently out of the country. My time on the board has been challenging at times, but also rewarding. I have taken my fiscal responsibility to the cooperative seriously and have based my votes on what I believe is in the best interest of the cooperative as a whole. I am very aware of the major decision facing GHI regarding purchase of the building where the co-op is currently located. Along with other board members, I will make every effort to obtain the answers to questions posed by board members and members of GHI so an informed decision can be made. I thank you for attending this forum and wish I could be here to answer any questions you may have for me. Again, that was Debbie McKinley's statement for her board candidacy. The second candidate who could not be here tonight is Carl Sanders. Carl wrote, Carl sends his deepest regrets that he is currently on a plane heading to a work conference. He is looking forward to seeing everyone at the upcoming annual meeting. A brief bio of Carl and his work in GHI. He, his wife, and his 7-year-old son have lived in 2 Court Southway for almost 4 years now, and the family has been involved nearly nonstop in community organizations and activities. Carl is a research economist at the U.S. Census Bureau and has previously taught labor economics at Washington University in St. Louis and Indiana University. Carl was elected to the GHI Audit Committee last year and was selected to fill the board vacancy this past fall. Since then, he has chaired the Property Purchase Task Force, which was responsible for coordinating information gathering and due diligence for the possible purchase of the 121 Centerway building. If re-elected to the board, Carl will focus on continuing the GHI tradition of investment in our community's infrastructure, green spaces, and amenities. For some specific examples, if the appraisal and building inspection of 121 Centerway come back favorably, he would support helping to secure our neighborhood's walkable amenities by purchasing the building. Additionally, Carl is in favor of pursuing proposals that would allow for new payment plans for co-op members on fixed incomes. Finally, he would like to advance research-based environmental best practices to help keep our neighborhoods beautiful and protect against climate risks. He would love to hear from you, both questions and comments, via email at, this email is easier, csanders, that's C-S-A-N-D-E-R-S, @ghi.coop, and would appreciate your vote. Now it's time for opening statements for the 2 board candidates here in this room. Ed and Stefan, you're welcome to choose whichever one of you goes first. All right, Stefan?
Go first if you want me to, but it doesn't matter to me. Okay, I'll let you go. Seniority.
Do I need to do something to manage this?
Your mic should be hot once you start
When that
talking.
turns, that's hot.
Okay. Hello, I'm Stefan Broad. Thank you very much for being with us this evening. I've been a member of Greenbelt Homes for over 27 years. I've been on the board of directors for 10 and a half and served as president for 5 and a half. I think that the principal issues we're facing right now, the most immediate being the question of purchasing the property at 121 Centerway Road. The next in line in terms of urgency, I would say, is re-engaging in negotiations with the WSSC for replacement of our water infrastructure under the masonry homes that hasn't been replaced since 1937. Well, parts of it have been, but it needs a wholesale replacement. A third one is the ongoing concern about rising member fees and ways to address that. I would offer to you that one of the things we do that isn't so maybe visible is engage with our state and county legislative bodies. We had a very successful state legislative session in that everything we opposed failed. And we had a less successful county legislative, well, they're ongoing, but a couple of the things that they passed that we had serious reservations about did pass, and we are investigating how we're going to respond to that. I'm very interested in hearing the concerns of members this evening. Thank you.
All right, Ed, would you like to go?
Yeah, as usual, tough act to follow. I'm going to do things a little different tonight. I've been around GHI for a very long time. I've been on the board, the audit committee, and had numbers of other organizations that I've played a major role in. I'm not here to ask for your vote. I'm here to thank everybody who has supported me for these decades. I want to thank staff who's not here now for the support, and in particular, my fellow board members who I think have done, all of them, have done an extremely capable job. And I'm looking forward to another 2 years. And that's it.
All right, thank you, Ed. Now we'll have opening statements from audit committee candidates. I'll start by reading statements provided by Michael Campbell and Carrie Loring, who are the 2 candidates for audit committee who cannot be here tonight. First, Michael Campbell. He wrote, "My wife, daughter, and I have been proud GHI residents since 2020. We genuinely enjoy being part of this community and love taking advantage of everything Greenbelt has to offer. Professionally, I work at the University of Maryland as a project manager with prior jobs spanning software engineering, project management, and data analysis. Within GHI, I've had the chance to contribute as a volunteer on the Permit Reform and Simplification Task Force and on the Search and Selection Committee for our new general manager. I'll be honest, I wasn't familiar with the Audit Committee's role before I was approached to run for it, and I suspect many of you might be in the same boat. The committee is responsible for reviewing GHI's finances and ensuring the cooperative operates in accordance with its bylaws and policies. I think this is an important role, and if elected, I'll bring the same attention to detail, common sense, and focus on making good use of resources that I try to apply in my day job and in my personal GHI service. On a broader note, I care about making GHI more welcoming and affordable for people at all stages of life, and I hope to keep that spirit in mind in whatever way I can contribute. And again, that was Michael Campbell. Carrie Loring's statement for her audit committee candidacy is, "Good evening, GHI community, committee members, and board members. I'm sorry I cannot be with you in person tonight. I'm in Florida assisting a family member recovering from surgery. My name is Carrie Loring. In November 2025, after responding to a notice of vacancy, I was appointed to the audit committee to replace Mr. Sanders, who had been appointed to the board. I'm now seeking election by the general membership to a full-year position. I have been interested in serving on this committee for a while, but I was out of the country during the elections held in May 2025 and was unable to participate. I am fortunate to have served on this committee already for nearly 6 months and find it to be rewarding and enlightening. A little bit about me. I have been a resident of GHI since November 2015, and I recently retired from the Department of Veterans Affairs, Office of General Counsel, after 29 years. I have been a public interest attorney for over 38 years, practicing in DC as a member of the Council for Child Abuse and Neglect, and in Maryland with the Legal Aid Bureau. My legal background includes drafting legislation and regulations, serving as an adjunct law professor, and appellate litigation. I've also served as a pro bono counsel in housing, domestic relations, and debt collection matters. Particularly relevant to GHI, I've created nonprofit status for peace and justice organizations in the community and represented nonprofits regarding tax matters. My first year as a member of GHI, I volunteered with the Legislative Affairs Committee and served for 5 years. I learned a great deal about cooperative communities, and the committee work was deeply satisfying, as was meeting new members. I have also volunteered with a variety of community groups and served on the board of my children's Montessori school. As many of you know, the Audit Committee's mandate, according to Article 7, Section 2 of the bylaws, is to oversee, quote, the various operations of the corporation, including maintenance, sales, and sales financing programs, in order to determine management's effectiveness in administering the affairs of the corporation economically and efficiently. Of particular importance to me is the various operations provision. In this respect, I commit to fully embrace and adhere to the recommendations that audit committee members reflect ethical business practices, the courage to embrace one's convictions, and a foundation in common sense. Each of these elements is extremely important to the success of this committee, and I've already seen this displayed by Mr. Holland and Mr. Jones. As a current member of the Audit Committee, I have been very impressed by our board and its commitment to the mission of GHI and its members. We are in good hands. However, I also believe that the independence of the Audit Committee and its direct accountability to the membership is extremely important. There are instances when the committee, although not voting, does provide a different perspective to the board for consideration. If elected to the Audit Committee, I will continue as an independent arbiter for the membership and will be honored to serve in this capacity. Thank you again for your thoughtfulness and time. Feel free to email me with questions, kloring, that's KLORING 90 @gmail.com. And again, that's Carrie Loring's statement for Audit Committee. All right, so those are the two candidates for audit who could not attend tonight. Bill and Nick, would one of you like to go first?
Go if you like.
Okay, sure. My name is Nick Lianos. This is my first time running for Audit Committee. I moved to Greenbelt from Silver Spring after a brief period in Cheverly. I've been here since 2013, and I have been attracted to Greenbelt. First of all, I had a cousin who lived here, and I was attracted by visiting her by Greenbelt's walkability and the strength of its community, as well as its access to regional transit systems like MARC, Metro. I'm Syracuse University graduate. I earned my degrees in rhetoric and mass communications. And as far as my career, I started working in print journalism, and I wrote stories for regional newspapers, uh, such as the Towson Times. It's owned by Patuxent Publishing Corporation. It's a subsidiary of the Baltimore Sun. And then I transitioned to broadcast journalism, and I worked at WJHU, which became WYPR eventually. And then I moved to sports journalism. And also in my spare time, I drive greenbelters around to regional airports and Mark and Amtrak and whatnot. As for why I'm running, I want to make this community a better place, and I want to ask a lot of questions. I think that's part of what the audit committee does. I think that the audit committee serves as its checks and balances for GHI. And I think that we are the voice of the community, essentially. And we need to make sure that every single voice in this community is heard loud and clear as best as possible. And every single member's voice really comes through us. So we need to listen carefully to what each member is saying. We need to respond accordingly. We need to take things into careful consideration, and really listen openly, smartly, make wise decisions, and keep all members in careful consideration before we move forward with what GHI is, with really anything that GHI does. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Nick. Bill?
Thank you, Tom. I retired here after 34 years as a professor of software engineering at Central Connecticut State University. And I retired here because my daughter lives in the area, was living in an apartment. And when I was looking at where to live, she said, move to GHI. She was planning on doing so, and she did the year after we moved here. We've been here 22 years. Been on the audit committee for 4 years. I was on the board for 8 years before that. I've been on the finance committee for forever, basically. I have a number of other, mostly volunteer activities, volunteering for New Deal Cafe, for the Greenbelt News Review, also I was chair of the board of directors of the Greenbelt Consumer Co-op, the co-op grocery store. I really enjoy living here, and I want to keep GHI affordable and enjoyable to live in, not just for me, because I'm getting kind of old, but also for my daughter, who lives in GHI as well, and is much younger than I am. And so I am appreciative of the opportunity I've had in the past to serve GHI, and I hope to be able to continue to serve them, looking out for particularly for financial matters and anything I can do to help the board make decisions. Sometimes I have something to say to them during the meetings. Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Bill. All right, now we'll continue with questions for audit committee candidates. I have 2 questions for audit committee candidates in the room with us tonight. After that, we'll see if we've received any questions from the audience, either here or at home. Again, if you're home, you can email questions to us right now at ghi.nominationsанdelections@gmail.com. Or you can go to ghi.coop/election and select email the Nominations and Elections Committee. So this is the first question for the audit committee. Last month, the board hosted a town hall for GHI members to discuss a proposal for GHI to consider purchasing the building at 121 Centerway, which houses the co-op supermarket and pharmacy. What role or roles should the audit committee have or not have as this proposal is considered further?
Go first, or should? Me?
give
Okay.
you
The audit committee is involved, is present in all considerations by the board of this matter, and particularly has an interest in the financial aspects of things. I feel that we ought to make sure, look at the situation and look at the facts, make sure that GHI members do not lose money by making this kind of investment. On the other hand, something that strongly pushes to do this is the co-op grocery store is the heart of Roosevelt Center and something that GHI members rely on. Some not too much, and others it's essential for them to be able to use a pharmacy and to have a grocery store they can walk to. And so this is a strong consideration for the question about the co-op. But key thing is the money has to work out correctly. I don't think we have to make much profit off of the investment, but I think we ought to make sure there is no loss, that it is, we come out at least even, if not ahead, by purchasing the building.
Thank you, Bill. Nick?
I think there are a couple things to look at in terms of the purchase. One is I agree that that we have to make sure that one, our finances are reasonable. We're not losing it. You know, GHI is not losing any. It's not going to lose any money with this purchase, and that we also keep affordability for members within good range. It has to make financial sense. I also think that it's very important to have a grocery store within walking distance, and I agree that the co-op is a very important. It's a vital necessity for members. We all want to see the co-op do well and succeed and offer wider variety of items. I really think that one of the things that when I look around in the area and see what grocery stores are around here, one of the things that makes the co-op different is it offers a wider variety of things, that some of which Safeway just does not offer, Giant just does not offer, and that makes the co-op quite different. And the other thing that makes the co-op great is that when you go in there, you're seeing your neighbors, you're interacting with your neighbors, and we need to have a community resource like that, whether it's the New Deal Cafe, whether it's the co-op grocery store. That is important. So we need to do something that makes financial sense. We need to do something to keep the prices down. We need to do something that brings community together, and if we can do all of that together and it makes sense for both of us, great.
All right, thank you. The second question I have prepared is, in your view, what are the goals of the audit committee? Are there specific concerns that you consider important? One of you like to go first?
First last time, your turn.
I think the audit committee, like I said before, it serves as a check and balances for GHI. We are literally your eyes and ears, and we are also kind of your voice. There's an example of, I want to say we make sure that nothing gets past us without looking at it. So in that respect, we gotta, in journalism, one of my editors always used to say when I wrote a story, check, and while you're at it, check again. That is who we are as the audit committee. And in that respect, I think that's incredibly good, because we want to make sure that we give everything very thorough detail, very look things through, careful consideration, make sure that if any member comes to us, we're open, we listen to their concern, we make sure that it's heard, and we can say, at the end of the day, before anything passes through and before it takes effect, we can say, yes, we have listened to every single member's concern about whatever we do moving forward, and we've taken it into consideration. At the end of the day, that is our ultimate goal.
Thank you.
The goals, the bylaws specify 5 individual objectives, responsibilities of the audit committee, 4 of which are to do with finances. So 4 out of 5 means the primary emphasis on that. That's why, for instance, it makes sense to talk about, make sure if we're going to use funds from replacement reserves temporarily until we need them for the co-op building, that we make at least the 5% or so that the bonds are otherwise making. But one of the 5 is non-financial. We want to be a little repetitive here. We also want to consider how much the community needs the co-op in order to be a viable community where people really enjoy working. I had the man who lived next to me when I moved in 2004 would walk from Southway and Ridge, which is where I would live, just a really long block to the bus stop and rest a while there, and then walk a block and a half to the co-op and buy something or other, and then walk back. Having that co-op there is important to us. And like you said, the personal interaction is important. My daughter told me that she went in one evening and the clerk said to me, your dad's been here 3 times today. Is he all right? Now, you don't get that kind of attention in Safeway or Giant. And she said, oh, no, don't worry about it. He just likes to come over and buy a couple of things and then come back later on because he keeps running into people that he knows that he ends up talking to them. And that happens a lot. So it's enough on that.
All right. Thank you, Bill. So far, we have not received any email questions for the audit committee. All right. This is a question for board candidates, as indicated. Does anyone have a question for the audit committee? Last call. All right. That concludes tonight's session for the audit committee. You're welcome to stay there or take a seat anywhere.
I think I'll sit down.
Go home if you prefer. All right, thank you. Now we'll go to questions for the board of directors candidates. The first question I have, which will not be a surprise given what we were just talking about, is what factors do you think are most relevant to reach an effective conclusion on the proposal for GHI to purchase 121 Centerway? Again, that's an effective conclusion on the proposal.
My turn to go first? All righty. One of the reasons I didn't go into details on my little speech earlier was I figured everything important was going to get brought up in the questions. My personal thing is tying up loose ends, having a plan B. If GHI takes over the store as a grocery and a pharmacy and a card shop and whatever else they've got in there, what happens if the grocery store as a business fails and GHI is left owning a vacant building? If you have a building in this county, it's got to go through inspections. If you change what the purpose of that building is, there may be additional conditions, codes, et cetera, levied on you. I don't know what those are. I don't know of anybody who's got a plan B for what they would do with a store if it is no longer a store. And that is my biggest concern, is trying to nail down all the what ifs. If we lose the grocery as a business and we have to spend more funds to upgrade the building, meet codes, et cetera, what are those issues? I'm not saying yes or no to the grocery. I like the grocery. My wife and I shop there at least twice a week. It's one of my favorite places to go walking around Greenbelt. I would dearly like to see it stay. But as a board director, I have to be responsible to our membership and the cost incurred by our membership. And that's my biggest concern. What would the plan B be?
Thank you, Ed. Stefan?
I think many of us would, including me, would like to see the whole of the Roosevelt Center owned by entities that are more involved in our community and more committed to our well-being. And the purchase of this property as a piece of that, I think, is very important. At this point, I believe that it's the responsibility of the board of directors to ensure that due diligence is performed so that we have the necessary information to go to a membership meeting and let the members decide, because it will ultimately be their decision. And we are pursuing at the present time all the avenues available to us to perform that due diligence and to get the information that we need. And that's where we are.
All right, thank you. We'll go to two of the questions that I've been handed. Again, no questions have arrived via email. The first question is, a major job of directors of GHI is to hire and evaluate the general manager. What are your qualifications to do this?
I'll go first. I've been on the board for a long time. I've gone through many cycles of hiring a new manager. We don't do it arbitrarily. We'll hire a professional to do the search. We'll create a team to do the interviews. The current general manager that we've got is, to me, an outstanding person and a manager. I think we've had a long series of very good managers. I do remember details from ancient past about people who were not happy with managers. That's been decades ago. Since then, we've had a string of what I consider top-notch people. I think we do, as a corporation, a pretty good job of hiring these managers. I've also been in a position where I've had to deal with hiring a manager for credit union, for example. I was president for a while. That was nerve-wracking. We did get one person, he didn't work out. We got another person who did work out. And unfortunately, I worked myself out of a job when I was supporting the push for us to merge with Prince George's Community Federal Credit Union, which I still maintain was a good move on our part, and that building's still there. And the credit union has established and grown in that location. So I think I'm pretty good at being able to pick people who can do a good job.
All right,
As part of a team.
thank you, Ed. Stefan?
One of the most challenging moments during my term as president was the day when Eldon Ralph told me he was retiring. And I thought, well, okay, here we go. And we were very fortunate to find James Claggett. He's been outstanding. And evaluating him is honestly pretty easy. One of the things I've also enjoyed as president is being in very frequent contact with weekly meetings and many other occasions during the week. And so to know quite specifically what's going on, what the challenges are, and James and I think have an excellent and open relationship in that regard. So when it comes to the evaluation, we are in a position mostly of saying thank you and of listening to how we can better support our staff and appreciate them.
Thank you, Stefan. Next question is also from an audience member here. Will you resume in-person board meetings? Why or why not?
Your turn. You're the president.
We've discussed that a lot. And in my opinion, we have dramatically, by having Zoom meetings, we've dramatically increased member participation. We've dramatically increased democracy. We routinely have far more members at board meetings than we ever had in person. It means that people who want to serve on the audit or committee or board of directors can be at home. They can be caring for children. They can be having dinner. They can be doing lots of things. Members can attend meetings as they wish. They can have them on in the background and chime in when they want to. I think that in general, it's led to a very much more flexible and participatory opportunities for our membership. It's also much better for our staff members who don't have to hang around at the office until I think most of us, having worked all day, don't really feel like hanging around at the office till 9 or 10 o'clock at night on a regular basis. And I know staff members who've left because they had to do that. So on the whole, I think it's very positive. I don't have any interest in changing it. I think having the in-person annual meeting is very valuable. We all get to see each other. But on balance, I'm in favor of continuing Zoom online meetings. We have discussed the possibility of hybrid meetings, but you see what the city of Greenbelt's had to do, effectively create a television studio in this room and have paid staff with us, experienced paid staff, all of which would increase our member fees. So I'm happy with the situation the way it is.
Thank you. Ed?
Yeah, I'll pretty much echo what President Broad said. The big issue, one of the biggest issues for me is that some of the staff live a goodly distance away. And when it gets icy out there and snowy out there and dangerous to drive, I would much prefer to have them at home where they're safe. And I have a feeling that a lot of the staff also enjoy the fact that they don't have to be there to dark 100. And that may well be helping out with retention policies. The other thing is I haven't seen a pressing reason to go back to in-person. I know numerous issues of why the Zoom is useful, handy, and very convenient for a lot of people. One of the things I do when I'm there is I'm scribbling furiously, and I'm at a second computer. That's why my screen is blank, because I'm always doing research and trying to find out history and additional details for the conversation. It's a frantic thing. I can't do that if I'm in person, because I don't have two computers set up. So I find it, for me personally, a lot more productive as secretary to keep minutes and keep track of what's going on and do research I couldn't do in person. For people who want to go to in-person meetings, it's to socialize with other people. That's not good enough justification for me.
Add one more point. It's not unusual for us to have members who are out of town or even out of the country who need to talk to the board about issues, and this makes it possible for them to do that.
All right, thank you. For the next question, that's one that the committee prepared. The cost of buying a GHI home, or frankly any home, has seen higher inflation in recent years. If you're elected, what thoughts do you have to address the affordability of living in GHI, including our monthly fees, in the coming 2 years of your term?
I don't know that we can do that. The biggest chunk of our fee is taxes. You look at the pie chart, you can see the taxes have been going up and up and up. We don't have any control over that. Now, if you want to really see the co-op fees start to level out, we could maybe go to the county and ask them to send you individual tax bills, which of course cost more, or we can do it the way we've got. If you're looking at the housing cost of the co-op fee, there's not a whole lot we can do. We can skimp and skip on maintenance, and then things happen, bad things, and then the insurance stops, and then we have to become self-insured. We're not wasting any money that I can find. And if you want to join the audit committee, if you want to start poking through the books and look for waste, feel free. I'd like to know. I really would like to know. In terms of the price of the homes, again, it's the equity that somebody has in their own home. When people sell, they tend to put a lot of money into it to fix it up and look really nice and have all kinds of amenities inside and nice flooring and nice bathroom fixtures. GHI has virtually no control over that. That's up to the owner, the member who lives there. How much do they want to fix up their house and how much can they sell it for? I don't know how we could possibly limit the price of a house. I really don't. And for people who want us to do that, I'd also like to hear suggestions.
I see three avenues for addressing cost of living in GHI. One of them is, if you look at the charts you'll soon receive as part of the annual meeting packet, real estate taxes are on a trajectory like this. I would suggest that you lobby your county and city legislators to stop raising taxes and stop spending so much money. That's one. Number two, I don't think there's much we can do about most of our costs, but one of the things we're allowed to do as a not-for-profit corporation is to make up to 20% of our annual budget from for-profit subsidiaries. We get a little profit from the Greenbelt Development Corporation's operation of the Parkway Apartments, but there's much more we can do in that area. One example of that is the new yard care program that we've recently initiated. If that program makes a profit, that will help reduce all of our member fees. We're looking to increase fee-for-service projects of that sort in other ways. Just today, I think you've received a message that the yard care program is being expanded to provide one occasion service rather than having to sign up for the whole of the summer. The third option would be to create an equivalent to reverse mortgages. We have many of our members, especially our senior members, who have a lot of money in their home, and they might as well not have it because there's nothing they can do with it except pass it on to an heir or sell it. I think it's an injustice that they're not able to use the reverse mortgage method, which you could have used in a regular home. And I have proposed this a lot. We have not yet had a group that's had the sufficient energy and determination to determine exactly what we need to change. It recently became legal in New York State, so we believe that it's not a federal problem. It's probably a state of Maryland issue.
Go ahead, Ed.
Could I tack on to the reverse mortgage? Some time ago, GHI did send letters out to various lending institutions within the area. One institution responded, and it was, we need to have more information about this program. So we have tried to deal with lending institutions to see what would it take to do this, and we hit a deadline, a dead end.
All right, thank you. Any more questions from the audience? Any more? All right. This question says, would you consider using the Affordable Care Act to provide health care benefits to GHI employees? I'm not familiar with the legalities or how that act works, but do you have any?
Is this a federal thing?
I presume it's the Federal Affordable Care Act.
Okay. I'm going to bite my tongue on federal politics. If somebody knows something about the ACA that can make it valuable to us, come and tell us about it. But the way Washington and Congress and the Supreme Court change things constantly, that's not high on my priority. Sorry, but I'm trying to be realistic about it.
Our very excellent human resources manager every year conducts a survey of possible healthcare options for our employees, and the board is typically presented with a choice of 2 or 3 options, and we are often in communication with the employees about what will best serve their healthcare needs and those of their families.
All right, thank you. Any questions? Last call for questions from the audience. We've also received none online. All right, so I think it's time for us to conclude. On behalf of the N&E Committee and the GHI membership as a whole, I'd like to thank the 4 candidates who came here with us tonight and all 8 candidates who have come forward to run for the Board and Audit Committee this year. GHI has 1,600 members We owe our gratitude to those members who volunteer to step forward and invest their time and effort so all of us can benefit. I want to thank everyone for a civil, constructive, and informative discussion. It's clear all of these candidates are eager to serve the membership and make our cooperative and our community the best it can be. In closing, I'd like to thank GHI staff for their contributions to N&E committee, to Joe for his contribution running the timing clock, and to the City of Greenbelt for providing the facility and the people who helped make this event possible. I'd also like to thank all the GHI members who joined us here tonight and who are watching this forum live or on a recording. I encourage all GHI members, please review the candidate biographies in this Thursday's Greenbelt News Review. But most of all, come to our annual membership meeting, 7:30 p.m. next Thursday, the 14th, in the Community Center. And please also vote in our election. You can do that Thursday after that meeting concludes, or anytime until 8 p.m. Friday. Our co-op depends and thrives on member participation. One of the most important ways that members participate is choosing leaders who represent all of us in the countless decisions needed to manage our structures, our cooperative, and our community. Thank you, everyone, and good night.
What?
Session.